Hunter. Thank you. Tonight I'm going to talk to you about a very simple approach to a very complex issue. It's a long-standing social conflict in my urban neighborhood of Northside. It could be any one of a number of communities across Cincinnati or across the country. But I'm going to talk to you about how a group of children showed me a way that people from very, very different backgrounds can come together to make a tangible difference for everyone. There we go. I had the opportunity a couple of years ago on a late winter night to make a snap decision. It was a moment of very tense conflict, a very heated moment. We're all used to this heightened kind of fight or flight mechanism that we have, but in this instance, I was able to choose a third way. I was able to choose to connect with the people on the other side of the conflict. And that moment changed the course of my life. Not only did it change the course of my life, but it's touched hundreds of children and adults in the short time since it happened. Several years ago on that late winter night, in the course of my work, I was assisting a woman who was disabled. She was in a wheelchair. Her new home was on the corner that had been recently redeveloped. This corner had long been notorious for gang activity. Drug deals would happen right under the police surveillance camera. We had dice games, graffiti tags. And we had this group of kids that would congregate there. The kids had come to claim the corner. It was after dark. We were working inside a building that was blighted, about to be redeveloped. And all of a sudden, the rocks started to fly. In that moment, it didn't occur to me to call the police. I didn't want to hand it off to somebody else. I had lived in this neighborhood for 15 years. I knew these kids. I knew that corner. I knew this situation. I wanted to go over there, and I wanted to find out why. I wanted to connect. What happened was extraordinary. The kids dropped the rocks. They blamed it on other non-existent kids in the area. They couldn't understand why some white lady was walking right up to them and not yelling at them and not calling the police. But they talked to me. They talked to me. I asked them questions. I wanted to know why. And they were completely astounded. It took them a moment to get over their shock, but they responded. They connected with me. They offered questions of their own. In that moment, we connected. Something I can tell you about those kids on the corner is they wanted nothing to do with the influx of new people that were coming into my neighborhood. There's a huge booming regeneration going on in Northside. It's fantastic in many ways. Those kids were far, far away from much of the good that was happening in that neighborhood. And something else that I can tell you about those kids is that every single one of them is living in poverty. What you might not know is that Cincinnati is 10th in the nation for childhood poverty. 2 years ago, we were third in the nation. But slipping to 10th doesn't mean we're making progress. Childhood poverty is on the rise nationally, and it's on the rise here as well. 2 years ago, 48% of our kids were living in poverty. That's almost 1 out of every 2 kids. Now it's 53.1%. And of those 53.1%, only 5% of them will rise out of it in their lifetime. Think about it, just 5% of these kids. So the story that unfolded on one corner has continued to unfold on a very different corner only 4 blocks to the south. On this corner sits a lovely turn-of-the-century building. We have a nice Shepherd Ferry mural of Aung San Suu Kyi, who's become our patron saint, on the wall there. It's a lovely building with huge sunny windows, and inside a new community is unfolding. This new community has gone beyond the walls of that building. The ripple effect out in the community has been astounding. After that night with the kids throwing rocks, I was obsessed. I was obsessed with continuing that connection that I felt in those moments that night. I teamed up with my good friend and co-founder, Elissa Yancey. We committed to each other to find a way to create a space where that connection could live on permanently. 1 year ago, we founded a nonprofit organization called Wordplay. Wordplay, ostensibly with the idea of setting the children free through words, of giving them their voices. Literacy, helping to break the cycles of generational poverty. But that was a little bit naive in a way. What we came to realize was that we had to create an entire new community to support these kids before we could make an ounce of headway. We had to reestablish that moment of connection that I had felt that night with the kids throwing rocks. And what has happened since the moment we opened our doors is something absolutely extraordinary. The kids are engaging in this new social dialogue. The kids don't even know what's happening. It's unreal. The most beautiful thing about it is the children are showing us what they need. The children are teaching us how to help them. Something else very extraordinary, something we had not anticipated at all, is that the children are showing us what we need. Much like that night with the kids throwing rocks, I needed to connect with those kids. It turns out that everyday regular people want to make a difference. They want to connect. In establishing wordplay, we've been able to create a space where that connection can live on, where it can happen, and it's making a difference, not just for the kids, but just as much so for the volunteers who come to support the work that's going on inside those walls. As a postscript to that story, just 1 year later, this is Linda, the woman in the wheelchair who I was helping that night that the rocks were flying at us. And Linda has recently come to me. She wants to help the kids. So Linda is coming into our space. She's coming into our space, and not only that, some of the kids that were throwing rocks that night are benefiting from our program. So think about the power of that connection. Coming full circle. It's already coming full circle in 1 year. I want everyone here to think about their own power of connection. Sometime, just to reach out. Patty Collins said earlier, a nice hello. What I would like to say is that it doesn't have to be a great social divide that you need to reach across. It could just be a street corner. But I have no doubt that in each instance, each of you has an opportunity to create something that will be extraordinary in your own life. Thank you so much for listening. Good night.